Hello everyone, my name is Jackson Cote. I'm a reporter with MassLive based in Springfield. But today I'm about 20 minutes north of the city, right in the heart of downtown Northampton. As you can see, there are no cars on this usually busy street. That's because they're undergoing a redesign of the upper half of Main Street. That's from the intersection of Main Street and King Street down there to South Street, all the way down there, in the intersection of Main Street there. The city announced that in August it was awarded a nearly $200,000 grant from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT. The grant is part of the program with the city called the Shared Streets and Space Program. It's worth $199,800 from the city, and they're awarded the money to help struggling businesses down here in downtown Northampton during this sort of hectic pandemic process of reopening. So they were given the money, and now they're taking the time today, tomorrow, and Saturday to completely redesign the upper half of Main Street. They're closing off traffic today. It will stay closed off until tomorrow, and they've closed off parking as well until 4 p.m. tomorrow too. So they're taking the time today to redesign Main Street, take some of the normally parking spaces, but now they're going to be outdoor dining spaces. And although they're not erecting any concrete barriers today, they are setting up and painting the sort of lining, the barriers, where the barriers will be put up. And later on, they will have 4 local artists come in and sort of spruce up the place. So it won't be just gray concrete barriers. They will look like they did earlier on in the year in the lower half of Main Street, which has been redesigned and has had barriers erected. And those barriers have been painted by about 12 local artists, and they look nice. They look green. They have designs on them, flowery patterns. So they're expecting to do that for the rest of Main Street. That's from King Street all the way up to South Street. And really, the goal of this, according to the mayor's office, is to, help out the struggling businesses down here in Northampton that are seeking to reopen during the pandemic. They are trying to, maintain their businesses, make customers feel safe out here. So, let's just take a look at Main Street currently. It's sort of an unusual sight. Usually the street is packed with cars, and if I was standing in the middle of the road, that wouldn't be possible. So as we can see, lines are being painted where barriers will go to allow for outdoor dining. And I was talking with some residents around here. They are optimistic about this. They are a little bit concerned that traffic on Main Street, which is usually a problem, will get even more clogged up. But they're hopeful for some of the struggling businesses down here that have been impacted by the pandemic. So again, just to reiterate, the city was awarded this grant from Mass DOT, part of its Shared Streets and Spaces program, which was launched in response to the current public health crisis to support safe mobility and renewed commerce in communities. And we have people working out here, people from the Department of Public Works in Northampton, as well as the Tool Design Group, which has been contracted to produce these redesigns. So the program that Mass DOT awarded the city of Northampton the grant through, it provides cities and towns with grants as small as $5,000 and as large as $300,000 to improve sidewalks, curbs, streets, on-street parking spaces, and off-street parking lots to support and bolster both public health concerns and the businesses in these areas. As I stated earlier, the lower half of Main Street has already been redesigned. There are concrete barriers there that have been painted. There's outdoor spaces that were formerly parking spots that are now outdoor dining spaces. The city of Northampton was able to do that through a private grant. It got through a foundation that was worth $10,000. But through that grant, they were only able to do the lower half of Main Street. But now with this nearly $200,000 grant, they can, help out with the rest of Upper Main Street. So you can just walk around a little bit, look at the work that's going on. So right now it looks a little barren, but tomorrow they are expected to, and Saturday as well, expected to lay down some of the barriers, some of the over 100 or about 100 planters, flower planters, that will serve as barriers for a bike lane that is expected to cut right through Main Street. Along with the bike lane, there will be a new bus stop configuration that is expected to be set up at the Hampshire County Courthouse right down there. And, all this is aimed to speed up traffic, reduce collisions, and, help these businesses out who need these outdoor dining spaces to feel like they're operating safely during the pandemic. And, you might be wondering why I'm wearing a mask when I'm, many yards away from people. It's because the city of Northampton has established its own, mandatory face covering mandate, where residents, people venturing into some of the more populated areas in Northampton, that includes downtown Northampton, downtown Florence, do have to wear face coverings regardless of how spaced out they are from other people. So just wanted to note that in case anybody was wondering why I'm, standing yards away from other people but still wearing a face covering. So we're right here looking at, some of the lines that have already been drawn that will, separate regular traffic from these outdoor dining spaces, outdoor retail spaces. This will allow some of the more popular restaurants, popular, retailers like Pita Pocket over there, as well as Bueno y Sano over there, Thorns Marketplace, some outdoor space to allow customers to, sit outdoors, relax, feel a bit safer, as the coronavirus does, does spread far easier indoors than it does outdoors. So, lots of restaurants have sought to set up their own outdoor dining spaces to allow customers to feel a bit safer. Like I mentioned before, there will be flower planters up, so it won't look as sparse as this. And if you're not hearing construction, don't worry, you will hear construction tomorrow. Today, it's mostly just painting down the barriers, painting down the lines that separate regular traffic from the public outdoor spaces where people can walk and people can shop outdoors. And we will have concrete barriers that will be set up. We will have 4 local artists charged with painting the new shared street space, including those barriers. Those include Andre Green, Eben Kling, Kim Carlino, and Sean Green. And the mayor's office is expecting this to look like the lower half of Main Street, where all of these outdoor spaces, concrete barriers have already been set up, and people can, feel free to shop, eat outdoors. And that was part, the efforts to redesign Lower Main Street was part of a grant received from the Foundation Lawrence and Lillian Solomon Foundation to encourage outdoor dining and easy curbside purchases on Main Street in Northampton and Florence as well. The city got that grant in May, and then it rolled out its sort of redesign efforts for Lower Main Street in June. And like I said before, the main goal was to, aid the reopening process for many of the struggling businesses in the community's most popular dining and shopping areas. And here in Northampton especially, there are so many, locally owned businesses, not as many chains as other areas. So if we walk down here, we'll see that up at South Street, a Northampton police cruiser is blocking off traffic. Traffic is closed for the entire day, and parking as well is closed for today until 4 p.m. tomorrow. There are also several barriers, Department of Public Works barriers, separating the side streets here in Northampton. And similar to what is expected from the enhancements currently underway on Upper Main Street, outdoor dining areas were set up earlier this summer, like I said before, using parking spaces on the lower section of the street back there. And concrete barriers, like I said, were erected and have since been very colorfully decorated. The $10,000 private grant received in May allowed for less congested sidewalks and easy parking. And the outpour of support and the opinions of the redesign in Lower Main Street have been largely positive. And from what I've spoken, from the conversations I've had with residents today, they also are looking at this pretty optimistically, as like it will help businesses in this area. The mayor's optimistic too that will be well received after all these traffic issues are dealt with for today, as traffic's closed off and parking's closed off. So there will be parking spaces in front of these restaurants, but Main Street generally will be narrowed more to allow for these public spaces to sit alongside the parking spots.
Even when downtown shut down? You know what I mean.
So we have personnel with the police department here in Northampton, as well as the Department of Public Works, and a few people working for Tool Design Group, which has been contracted to fulfill these redesigns. And as we can see, these redesigns are going to be pretty extensive. They go all the way up to Pulaski Park, up in the upper half of Main Street, all the way down to King Street, way back there. And we can see from these lines where the barriers are going to be put up. That will eventually be colorfully decorated and look a lot nicer than just gray plain barriers. And when I talked to the mayor last week, this is what he told me. It's that the overarching goal, and this was part of the reason Mass DOT set up their shared spaces grant program, was recognizing that many communities now are scrambling to reconfigure outdoor space and roadways and set up outdoor dining for supporting economic recovery during the coronavirus pandemic. And as we all know, the pandemic has been detrimental for so many businesses across Massachusetts and across the country. And Northampton hasn't been exempt from that. We've seen some businesses here in the city close down. You can see right over here, the Green Bean Restaurant, which was a popular little, breakfast, lunch cafe. It sadly closed down earlier this year, actually. And the businesses I've talked with elsewhere on Main Street, elsewhere in the city, have also, talked to me about the financial woes of this pandemic. And so what Northampton Mayor David Narkowitz told me was that he hopes that to some degree, this redesign, this nearly $200,000 redesign, will be helpful, will be, aid these struggling businesses. And we can see Pulaski Park up to the left. And we can see on Masonic Street that, Department of Public Works barriers have been set up. We can see over here, Pulaski Park, and all these designs stretch all the way back down to King Street. And just one last reminder, face coverings are required. You have to wear them when you're venturing into these more congested downtown areas in Northampton. Those include downtown Northampton, and downtown Florence. Regardless if you're able to space yourself 6 feet apart from another person, which is, recommended to stave off the transmission of the virus, you still, in downtown Northampton and other congested areas in the city, you have to put on a mask. You have to wear it. And that's according to a local, municipal order from the Northampton Board of Health. So it is a little eerie today because traffic is stopped. It's prohibited. And apologies, my Wi-Fi is cutting a little bit in and out, but back on. Like I was saying, it's a little bit eerie that there are no cars here, but there are still, a good crowd of people walking up and down Main Street, most likely buying lunch, buying food, going shopping. And I was talking with Northampton City Councilor Jim Nash earlier. He was outside one of the businesses, and he was expressing to me his optimism about this project, about, businesses being able to set up these outdoor dining spaces. And we see some businesses like Dober Tea over here that have been able to set up tables, chairs outdoors with the limited space that they have. But as we can see right here, right outside their store, they do have tables, but they will get even more space after this redesign happens, after this project is, pulled through. We have Northampton City Hall over here. And so, like I mentioned, this project was part of a grant awarded to the city, about a $200,000 grant that was awarded to the city by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, to reconfigure their space in accordance with the pandemic that's going on, to make people feel more safe to venture into these business areas. And also, to ensure public health and safety. And those grants were awarded to cities and towns across the state. It's not just here in Northampton, and they've ranged from $5,000 grants to $300,000 grants. Obviously, Northampton was on the well-receiving side of that with the $200,000 grant. And grant applications are still open. I believe they will be still open until September for towns and cities across Massachusetts. If they want to, construct projects like this, reconfigure their areas to, adapt to the new normal, as so many people are calling it, with outdoor dining and, setting up these public spaces to allow for, people to feel safe to go back into their downtowns. So again, my name's Jackson Cote. I'm a reporter with MassLive, usually based in Springfield, but today I'm in downtown Northampton taking a look at the redesign project that's going on to allow for more public spaces during the coronavirus pandemic and to sort of enhance the shopping experience for so many people down here. Because usually when it's not a pandemic, when it's not a public health crisis, downtown Northampton is packed with families, college-age students from the surrounding 5 colleges like UMass, Smith College, Mount Holyoke, Amherst College, Hampshire College, who are excited to come down here, get a break from the university setting, and get a downtown shopping experience. And so right now we see contractors with the Tool Design Group working on these painted down barriers that separate regular traffic from where there will be actual physical barriers, some of them concrete, and then others that are going to be planters with flowers in them. And if you want to learn more about this redesign project that's going on, you can go on to MassLive.com, check out my article about it. And just to clarify, this project is expected to be temporary. That's what one person with the tool design group told me, that it will most likely last until the fall and winter, but after that, it's expected some of the concrete barriers, some of the many updates that are going on today are expected to be removed. I've got one comment on the Facebook Live that Main Street right now, or Northampton in general, looks like it did in the 1900s before automobiles appeared. And that's pretty spot on. There are no, you can see cars here where the barrier ends, where the, section setting apart Upper Main Street from Lower Main Street. You can see cars across King Street. But up here, it's empty. It's a wild scene, and it's sort of a, unusual experience for me to be down here in an area that's usually packed with cars. I'm not sure the last time that Main Street looked this empty during the daytime. It's pretty wild. Anyway, again, my name's Jackson Cote. I'm a reporter with MassLive based in Springfield out here in Northampton to see the redesign project that's going on to enhance shoppers' experiences during the pandemic. Signing off.